Island of Insight, which is a game that I've played because the demo is out.
I did see that the demo was out, and
Mhm.
I was curious to know if you played it. Adam, what is your let's start with what was your initial reaction to this game, and is that initial reaction does that hold true, or are you now changing based on playing the demo?
All right. Initial reaction. Well, let's go into what the game is first, like what people are
Okay,
expecting a little
okay,
bit. So, what the game is essentially, it's an open world puzzle solving game. So, the game is sprinkled in with a bunch of different types of puzzles, things defined, mysteries, all that stuff. There's mazes. There's logic, mages. Yeah, there's like there's some
while you're
wizards.
so,
Yeah,
while you're solving puzzles, wizards will be shooting you
yeah,
with
yeah.
with laser beams and
Yep.
trying to feed you potions.
But not no mages. It's I almost said magic now. Mazes. There's environmental challenges. There's problem solving throughout the whole game, and there's supposed to be much more. But that's
Perspective.
yep, perspective stuff, things that you kind of have
Yep.
to look at different directions and things like that. Um, and they're making it like a peaceful but sublime, critical thinking, but also relaxing type of game. And to set the stage, like that's how we're gonna set the stage. But here's the trailer um, of the game.
And I think I honestly think this is kind of a one-off. This game is purely puzzle
Yeah.
related.
Yep.
Yeah.
Purely
So
puzzle. I think it's got a story element, but you need to like solve these puzzles to like progress through the story. And we can kind of
yeah,
get
that's how
into
you
that a little bit.
progress through the story because I
Mhm.
think these kind of games don't really exist anymore, and people might be people are probably gonna want to know this.
Mhm.
There is no like combat to this.
Right.
There's no like platform. There's no platforming. There's no combat. This is strictly just a puzzle game. Um, and I'm actually really excited for it because
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of puzzles. But
Yeah.
just kind of looking at the trailer, guys, if you guys are just listening on the Spotify, how would you describe this world? Like an ancient, like almost like how Flintlock was. It's like
Yeah.
a ancient like kind of Athens or like kind of Greece. I feel like it's kind of taking place in.
Yeah. And it's made by the same people. So oh no,
Yep.
sorry, that's the last game we just talked about. This is made
Yep.
by the same people that made or published DBD, like Dead by Daylight.
Yep.
But yeah, kind of what you said, it's got that like ancient Greek kind of feel, things like that. And it's showing some of the puzzle types. So this one's like the matching. This one you have to they're going by fast, but there's different types of puzzles with numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
There's certain move sets you have to move, and it looks really interesting and cool. That was my first initial perspective. And I'll give it, yeah. It just seems it's like we've been talking about with some of these games. It's just like very refreshing. You know what I mean? Like it's bright, it's fun. Like it's got that setting to it, if that makes sense. So
Yeah, it's very very chill, and I think one of the things that we're kind of looking at is like, in the trailer we're kind of looking at just like a lot. We're obviously looking at a lot of puzzles, but we're looking at a lot of areas that have kind of a different look and a different vibe to them. And the one thing that I want to throw out there is that this game is not really like a linear based story. They told
mhm,
it as you can kind of go anywhere you want and do you can solve all of these puzzles and riddles in whatever order you want. You know what I mean?
right,
So you're just kind of like you're literally just free to kind of explore and do what you want within this world. And I think that's really really cool because as much as I like a linear story, I also like just kind of like being dropped in and not really knowing what's happening, and you just kind of like, all right, like
wing it.
go explore.
Yeah,
Yeah, just go explore, just see what happens. And it's like I like that, and I like that the fact that because there's really no linear story to this, and there's no like combat or anything like that. Like you're not going to miss anything by
right.
just exploring because that's one of the things that I love to explore, but I also don't like to miss anything. So you'll
Mhm,
see like, and Adam knows this when I'm playing a game, like if I'm playing a game, I want to not make sure that I don't miss anything so much where I'm like, okay, this is where I feel like they want me to go. I need to go this way first.
right.
Like because I don't want to progress far enough where like I've missed
Can't
whatever
go
is
back.
this
Yeah.
way. Yeah, and you can't go back to it. And it's like for this type of game, I think it's gonna be very much based on just go explore, and I think having the weight off your shoulders of, like, just go explore and have fun, like, you're not gonna miss anything, is
Right.
just gonna be very calming to me, and I am here for that. I'm 100% here for that.
Right. And kind of with that, then you're not gonna miss anything, mostly because there's so many puzzles in the game, and they all like they despawn and then they recycle. Does that make sense? So they're recycling these puzzles, they're adding new ones, they're taking some away, they bring them back. And I think that's really cool. Like, so yeah, there's so many puzzles, you feel like you have to do them all, but you won't be able to do all of them because they're recycling them, adding new ones, changing them. And so I think that's a really cool element of this game where you're not stuck saying, I gotta finish all 50 puzzles right here before I can go to this next area. Oh, I did
Yeah.
15 of these types of puzzles. I really like them. I'm gonna go find some over there and hopefully come back to these ones over here, and they'll be gone. So I know they'll be gone, but they'll be in a different spot, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And the way that the developers have kind of toted this is that the level of difficulty in these puzzles is going to vary greatly. So don't think of that this is going to be an experience that like I feel like everybody is going to enjoy and not really get frustrated with because there's going to be um levels of difficulty where it's like this is fairly easy to solve, so like people aren't going to get frustrated with it, but there's also going to be a level of difficulty for like your hardcore puzzle enthusiasts where it's like I really want a challenge and I really want like something that's going to take some time to figure out, and those types of puzzles are going to be available, and like Adam said, you don't have to do every single puzzle. So if you just find one where you're like, I'm really stuck. I really don't like this puzzle. Like, I just really don't want to do this. You don't
Mhm.
have to. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, you don't have to. You skip that puzzle and continue on with the experience. And I think that's kind of cool that like it's gonna kind of cater to everybody and everybody's skill level on problem solving, and it's gonna be a game where everybody can kind of just relax, have fun with it. It's not too serious, and yeah, I'm excited for this.
Right. And so my experience, I played the demo, right? And kind of going off of what we were just talking about, there is a good deal, like a great mix of puzzles. Like you definitely have many options, and like I felt like that even just in the demo. But for me, it intrigued me less as I played it, only because I was getting frustrated. I'd find a puzzle and like I get like three super easy puzzles, like boom, 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 boom. Okay, I'm done with that puzzle.
Yeah.
And I got to one, and this is why I was a little late and not seeing my room was a mess. But I was playing, and I was like, "This puzzle took me 50 minutes because I couldn't figure this stupid puzzle out." So I was getting frustrated. I asked my wife, I was like, "Come help me with this before," I'm a person, I can't quit. Like I can't quit until it's done.
Yeah.
So I was getting frustrated, and then when I finally got it done, I was like, finally, that stupid puzzle's done. And it wasn't like a sigh of relief. It's like I just wasted 50 minutes finishing this stupid puzzle when I didn't have to. And yeah, I could have went to another one, but the way I mentally work is like I did something and I didn't finish it, so now I'm angry. So
What was the puzzle? I have to know.
it was like a Candy Crush one, but you had to crush all of them without leaving one square left.
Oh, it had to be like a perfect finish?
Yeah. And I kept
Yeah,
getting to
okay.
1 to 2 every time. And then I thought I had a good strategy, and then I didn't have a good strategy. So then I started counting the blocks, and then I was like, okay, so there's 10 blocks of the green, there's 6 of the pink, there's 6 of the, yeah, there's 6 pink, 6 red, or no, yeah, something like that. There's just different numbers. So I started counting them, and I was like, okay, let's try this, try this, try this. And I was, you know what? I just gotta keep going, just keep trying. I started spamming buttons, and I finally got it. And so, and that, yes, it's like I don't mind puzzles. Don't get that wrong. But I want a puzzle that I can actually complete without getting frustrated to the point where like I solve it without intentionally solving it, if that makes sense. So there's puzzles like in the game so far. There is some that I was like, oh, I can see that, but they didn't challenge me. So personally had to find a level of challenge where I can get it done on my own, but without getting frustrated. And then not the ones where like takes me 2 seconds and I can finish it. Does that make sense? I need to find that level.
Yeah, no, and I think that totally makes sense. So when you finished that puzzle that was giving you a hard time, did you feel like the puzzle made sense in your head? Like there was specific steps that were needed to complete the puzzle, or do you feel like it was just kind of completely random where it's like you just have to keep trying until it works?
It started out like I was trying. I was like, "Oh, it's Candy Crush. I just have to crush all the things. Like that's gonna be easy." And then I did a couple times. Okay, I was like, "All right." Now, after a couple times, like, okay, I got to strategize what I'm gonna do. And so I was like, "Okay, there's 10 green ones. There's 6 pink ones, and like obviously they're laid out in a certain way." I was like, "Okay, so I need to take out 4 of the green at once, 3 of the green, 3 of the green, 3 of the pink, 3 of the purple, 3 of the purple, 3 of the pink." And so I understand that strategy. Like I had to make sure they lined up in that specific way. And I was trying to picture it. And every time I thought I pictured it, it just wasn't right. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I ended up getting it by just spamming it. So,
So you ended up getting it at random. But what I'm saying is like the board didn't fall at random. Like
oh, no, no. It was the same
there
puzzle over and
are
over.
okay, so yeah, there is very clear steps where like
Yeah.
somebody knows like do green, do
Yeah.
step 1, do green, step 2, do blue, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
there.
So I would say, like, and somebody that's really good at puzzles and actually, like, can see that and be like, "Oh, yeah, I got it." Like, I'm just not there. So, like, I don't have that skill level. So that's my
Okay.
own personal thing. It was a skill level issue, not because the puzzle was random. It was a skill issue.
Okay, well, I didn't think about the gamer that just refuses to quit a puzzle that they don't like. So maybe maybe
Yeah.
maybe this game will not appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
If you're
Whew.
like Adam and you cannot leave something unfinished, maybe this isn't going to be a
Yeah.
great game for you.
So that is my initial impressions of the game. But
Yeah.
overall, puzzles in a game, I think, and kind of go this kind of our subtopic of the night, puzzles in games. This works for this game, like because this game is puzzles. Like you're expecting to play puzzles.
Yeah.
Now, do puzzles work for every game, or what do you think puzzles enhance games for the most part, or what do you think?
Okay. Real quick, let's just hop back real quick
Oh
and just
man, I
I'm
thought I did a
sorry.
good segue, Dave.
You did a great segue, but did we? I know some people are going to be a little bit curious about this game, so let's just close it off. Island of Insights. Again, we talked about it. Puzzle-based game, shared world. You can fly, you can walk, you can do all this stuff. The game will be releasing February 2024. So if you're interested in this game, it's a puzzle-based game. It's very relaxing. It's going to come out very, very soon. So if you're interested in the game, February, you'll be able to play it. Now, puzzles in games in general. This is a very interesting topic because me and Adam are two very different gamers. I love having puzzles in games. Adam hates having puzzles in games. I think one of the biggest things about the puzzles in games is for me, it's a nice little break from mayhem. I play a lot of games that are absolutely crazy. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's portions of the games that are absolutely crazy, action packed, things are flying, there's a billion things on the screen, and it's kind of like there's some times where you're just like, okay, stop, like just okay, all right, like that's enough. That's it, like it's enough. Like just let's just stop for 2 seconds and just have things stop raining from the sky and trying to kill me. And like, and a puzzle is just like it's a nice little break from that action. So I appreciate having a puzzle in a game, but I know you kind of feel the opposite way about it.
I can't say okay. I am opposite about in certain aspects. I think for a puzzle to work in a game, it's got to make sense to the narrative, if that makes sense.
I
So
100% agree with that.
okay, so like for example, like if you're playing Arkham, there's puzzle aspects to it, right?
Right.
Right. So with Batman, he's a detective. Like he's trying to figure stuff out. Like he needs like it's a puzzle because he's a detective. You have to figure out like this certain thing. Or even the new RoboCop game, they have little puzzle aspects because he's a cop detective. You know what I mean? So and then from the
Yeah.
movies, he has like those scannings, the investigation. So that makes sense to me. Where I start not liking the puzzles is when I'm focused on the narrative and I'm trying to get through this narrative, and all of a sudden, bam! Here's a puzzle. Like this is why I struggled a little bit with Star Wars, like the Is it, what was the first one? Jedi Survivor? No, that's the second one. What's the first one again? Last something Jedi. Jedi
Oh,
Survivor.
yeah.
Wow, I'm
Oh
blanking.
god. Yeah, I'm blanking too. We're gonna get some heat there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Well, that game specifically, like you're playing the game, you're going through the battles, puzzle to get to the next spot. I'm like, no, like let me get to the next spot. Let me get to the next battle. Let me get to the next cutscene that I want to see to progress my narrative, to progress my story. That's where I am like, eh. And then I never actually played. I was looking up some other games that people complained about puzzles in. God of War Ragnarok. People were like, the puzzles are pointless. Like, why are they in the game? And I think that's where I draw the line. Like, because puzzles do work in games. Don't get me wrong, but I just think there's an element like they have to fit the narrative, and if they don't, I think they're a waste of time and they're pointless in a sense. Yes, it breaks the monotony of the mayhem, like you said, but for me, like if it disrupts my narrative, I don't want a puzzle in my game, if that makes sense.
I think what we're talking about though is you're talking about almost like platforming puzzles that are progression based, and they're at that point I do think it kind of makes sense. Don't you think it makes sense a little bit?
No, I thought it was stupid.
Okay, so like let's use God of War for example. God of War takes place back in, a different time, and it's like, say you need to solve a puzzle to get into this certain area. Well, that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it kind of makes sense to me that like as a member of this civilization, right? It's closed off to the outside world and you need to know some type of like secret way to get in. And I feel like that kind of makes sense to me. Does it
Yes, it
does
doesn't make sense to me.
it doesn't make sense to you?
No, I mean, I guess it kind of does, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to deal with a puzzle. I just want to get through the story. I don't want to have to spend 10 minutes trying to figure out where this ball opens this door. No, I want to punch my way through the door. I want to spam B or square and just punch my way through this door. Like I'd rather do that than like, okay, where's this floating ball? Where do I have to connect this thing? Where do I have to push this ball? No, I want to rush to this door and kill a bunch of people. But that's me. That's me. And like when I play these
um
games, I don't expect that. But that's not to say like puzzles don't work in games, because I do believe there are games that puzzles do work. But for those kinds of games, they don't work for me. But that's just me personally.
I this is a really hard topic I think to kind of talk about because I feel like it really just comes down to personal preference. See, I
Yeah.
really like it. I really like that stuff. Like I
Yeah.
really like a break in the action where I can just calm down. And I think like I don't know if maybe that has to do with like me and like my anxiety or something like that, where it's like I like a little bit of action, but also want to like, okay, let's tone it back for a second.
Hmm.
Let me just calm down. And like it's nice to have those little breaks in there.
Hmm.
Um, I understand not liking the puzzles. I think the number one thing is like the puzzles have to be good. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like if the puzzles are bad, then I'm on your side of it where it's like that was stupid. Like
Yeah.
why even bother having
And
that? I think yeah, I do think that like it whether a puzzle should be included very much has to deal with how good the puzzle is.
And actually, I was gonna make that point too. Like, yes, like I'm hating on these puzzles. Again, that's personal preference. But to make it work in a game, the puzzle has to be good. You know what I mean? It can't
Yeah.
feel random. It can't feel like, oh, you know what I mean? Like we just threw it in here because we needed something different throughout the game. No, it makes sense with the game. So, like you said, like I never played Ragnarok, but like you said, it makes sense. Oh, we have to unlock this section. But like for me, like Jedi Order, like is that Jedi Order? It's Jedi Order or something like that. Whatever.
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. Yeah,
Yeah, Fallen Order. There we go.
we got it.
We nailed
Um,
it.
with that one though, like yes, they were trying to get us to separate like rooms, but like I already dropped down in this room. I know the exit, but now you're gonna make me force push this ball 15,000 times to open a door. Like I don't want to do that. I mean that to me that's pointless. Again, that's me personally, because like I just think it took away from the story driven part of the game. Again, I know this is like it's a key element of that game because it's like that Souls like I'm gonna put it out there. Like there's those puzzle bases in those types of games, and that's not the
Yep.
type of game for me. But for me, if it's gonna work for a game, it has to make sense and it's got to be a good puzzle. Another thing is like I don't like when puzzles are 100% difficult from the start. I like to work my way up to like, oh, like I start to understand this key aspect of the puzzle. You know what I mean? Like I this is a small portion of the puzzle. All right, next step is we're gonna add those steps, 2 steps now, 3 steps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want the puzzle to get better and bigger as it goes. I don't want to start from 0 to 100 in like 1 second. Like I want to learn the mechanics of the puzzle based part.
Yeah.
And and even with Island of Insight, like there was puzzles that started out really basic and then like it started spreading and I was getting those because like oh like it's easy like I understand where I started from and so those were pretty cool and yeah and another thing is I think a good puzzle is if it does like it doesn't hold your hand. You know what I mean? Like when you're doing it, like I like a puzzle that makes it feel like I've accomplished something. I don't want to feel like how I did with the puzzle. I was the Candy Crush puzzle where I ended up just spamming the buttons and like, oh, I got it done. Like that's cool. Like I just spammed it. Like I didn't accomplish anything. You know what I mean? Like I want a puzzle
Yeah.
where I feel like I did something.
Yeah. I mean, with all of those points in mind, yes, I do kind of agree with you on certain aspects. It's like, you know, I said this before. The whether a puzzle should be in a game 100% has to do with how good the puzzle is.
Hmm.
And if you're talking if you're talking about a puzzle like was in Fallen Order where you're just kind of force pushing this ball all over the place, like yeah, I get that. Like, that's annoying. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a good puzzle. It's not a clever puzzle. It's just kind of like a monotonous thing,
Yeah.
that you have to do. But if you're so like one of the games that was kind of that's new that kind of did this was Hogwarts. Hogwarts had a lot of puzzles in it, and
Hmm.
there was moments where I was getting frustrated with these puzzles, but I always kind of had that aha moment, right? And I
Hmm.
think that signifies a good puzzle where it's like the puzzle is challenging, but at some point you have that I I got it. And you know and like you know what to do and you execute that final move and you're like I got it. You know what I mean? And like that to me signifies a good puzzle. You need to have that aha moment where
Hmm.
it's good enough of a puzzle where you don't feel like it's monotonous. You feel like it's challenging, but you feel some type of reward. It's not so frustrating that you're just kind of angry when you solve it. You need to have that kind of like joy and sense of like accomplishment and sense of pride when you solve it. So and that's a fine line and it's hard for these developers, right? Because everybody's problem solving and puzzle skills are at different levels, right? To
Hmm.
make one puzzle that every single person could do and have that aha moment is
Yep.
like impossible. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
some people are going to solve it in like 2 seconds. Some people are not going to solve it at all and just be like, this puzzle's stupid. And then like, I don't know. It's really, really tough. It's
That's it.
really, really, really tough.
Yeah, I think like you said, it comes at the end of the day, this is a personal preference thing. You know what I mean? Like you love puzzles and games and I don't. And that's like it's even to the topic of like there's games I like, there's games you don't like. You know what I mean? And I think it all just comes down to personal preference. But there's elements of game or elements of puzzles that make a game good. Or like games that have good puzzles, I should say.
Yeah, there's definitely elements. And I think kind of one of the key takeaways here is like, if you're going to include puzzles in the game, um, don't make them monotonous and if you're gonna include puzzles in a game, make it have a purpose. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it has to be like meaningful, like Adam said, make it follow the narrative, make it challenging, but don't make it ridiculous. And it
Yeah.
needs to just look at like your general kind of player base and like try to figure out what skill level of puzzle solving is kind of like an average and
Hmm.
make it so that it has that aha moment for your average player because it is rewarding when you solve a puzzle. Like I know people hated this, like Zelda Breath of the Wild, like the
Hmm.
tombs, all the tombs in Zelda Breath of the Wild. People hated that they had to do those. I really enjoyed it. It's like every tomb was like like a different puzzle, and you get to like solve this like cool, like oh this floats, like oh this turns, you can turn this into ice, or like this is you got to use the fire here or go down this. Like I really enjoyed that stuff.
Hmm.
So, or maybe just make them like Zelda did and make them all optional.
Ooh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, like the tombs, you got stuff from doing the tombs, but for the most part, the completing
You
the
didn't have
tombs
to.
was optional. So it's like that could be a way to go. Is just
Yeah.
make puzzles optional.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Um My favorite puzzles though, I like memory stuff, memory puzzles, and then like puzzles that have numbers, like Sudoku. Is that how you say it?
You're
Yeah,
like Sudoku?
yeah. I like
Yeah,
numbers. Like those are the types of puzzles I like. So, oh
that's
wait,
cool.
and the ones with the connections. You know what I mean? Like get to like not cross paths. I like those.
Oh yeah, those are cool
Yeah,
puzzles too.
yeah.
Really love like a good platforming puzzle. Like I think some of the best in my opinion is like the Tomb Raider series where you're
Mm,
kind of like you have to like kind of interact with the environment in certain ways, and it's like you have to kind of manipulate the environment. And Hogwarts was great at this where it's like you kind of have to, oh, I have to get to this spot and move this platform around and then kind of like advance up this tier of stuff. I really like
mhm.
environmental kind of like platforming puzzles, but
I got you.
I
I
know
got you.
agree to disagree. Adam is not the hugest puzzle fan in games. I actually really like it. I think honestly, just the keynote here is like it's is our puzzle games good? Are our puzzles good for games? Well, it depends on how much effort they put into it, how many
Yeah.
they include. Um, yeah, and the best case scenario is like if there's a puzzle in a game that you can't figure out, there's probably somebody online who's figured it out and has
Yeah.
posted an entire step by step walkthrough of how to get through it. So
Right.